That's right. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And I wish I liked this movie more than I did, Dragon. I wish. Welcome, folks, one and all, to the Wonder Woman 1984 Spoilercast. It's going to be a big one, folks, because this is going to be a debate. We've got two sides of the coin in the room here tonight. Dragon, he quite liked the movie. I myself, well, I don't want to rain all over Dragon's parade before we even get started. So, Dragon, I'll let you give your thesis first, and then I'll kind of I'll take over from there, and we'll just kind of get into it.
Right. All right. Wonder Woman 84, it was pretty much everything I could have hoped for. It was the Wonder Woman movie I've been waiting for a long while. It's fine. Again, it's pretty much as what I was hoping for in the advertising, and it seems like it ended up being the case. I mean, finally, she's not tethered to Paradise Island. Finally, we're not doing yet another story of like we're in deep Greek mythology, like gods and monsters territory. Where it's like, okay, Wonder Woman's on a globe-trotting journey, or Wonder Woman's, hey, we're going back to the origin again. Remember when we did that 3 times? Once in live action, twice in animation, just every time we tackle Wonder Woman, because that's all she did. Came from an Amazonian island. It's not like we have like a whole TV show or something about her doing other things. But yeah, so I've been aching to see that done with Wonder Woman, so that's why I was really excited about the sequel, and I really kind of got my wish granted in that regard. I see
Oh boy.
we get to see her in action. She's developing her own universe. Kind of post all the Themyscira stuff. I'm impressed that we found a way to kind of play in the DC EU sandbox, but not be hindered by it as much as I kind of feared. The whole she's not supposed to be seen because of all the BVS and Justice League of it all. It's like she's been off the grid, so kind of found a way to work that in there without getting in the way. I thought. Um, but I just ultimately I like how he tied our stories together. And Pedro Pascal, for me, I thought he was an absolute standout. I thought he was fantastic, and ultimately, it's just my kind of movie. It's my kind of Wonder Woman movie. Ultimately, I really liked it.
Dragon, this might be the most different of opinions that you and I have ever had on anything, my friend. Because it's like you and I have disagreed about stuff like let's say like the Dark Knight Rises, for example. But I can find a lot of good stuff to like about the Dark Knight Rises. Dragon, this is my least favorite DCEU movie.
Like ever?
Out of all the ones that have been released, I was thinking about it in my head, and I'm like, I like at the very least, I feel like all the other ones to me have some sort of like big wow moment for me. Here's the thing with this one. This one just it falls off the rails so quickly. I was into it at first because you're all hyping me up for that mall scene. That's what you were living for before this movie came out, was that mall scene. And we get the mall scene right away, and it's great. We get a lot of like Richard Donner style kind of like comedic action, and I'm like, okay, this is like a more lighthearted Wonder Woman movie. All right, I'm all for it. Oh, with all due respect to Kristen Wiig, Dragon, I don't want to seem like one of those, like crazy people who just went off on Ghostbusters 2016 because it's all women. Man, that's the only reason I don't like that movie. But with all due respect to Wiig, the movie to me personally, I'm so glad you liked it, Dragon. I just want to make this clear. I'm coming at this like I'm not trying to rain on anyone's parade. I know that Donovan might be watching either now or in the comments. Uh, and I know he's very much on the same mindset as you, Dragon. But for me, Dragon, once she shows up, once that character comes into the picture, the movie sort of falls off a cliff. I will say this much: I'll give you the asterisk that Pedro Pascal is a lot of fun. He is having a lot of fun. His character is a lot of fun. I don't think it's well written. I think the magic stuff is kind of ridiculous. Um, I think some of the Steve Trevor stuff we do in this movie is ridiculous. I just overall, To me, Dragon, there's no reason this movie needs to be 2.5 hours long. For one, it's got a serious pacing problem. I mean, that's pretty much par for the course with the DCU at this point. But it just didn't feel like there was much going on, Dragon. I mean, it's like it's a movie where, yeah, at the end you've got all this kind of like spectacular, like, oh my god, like what do you wish for, Mr. President? More nukes. It's like there's crazy shit going on at the end of this movie. And I will say that overall it's probably a better third act than the first Wonder Woman movie in terms of like I was thoroughly entertained. But Dragon, I gotta say, I think I was entertained for the wrong reasons because I really think like between the Cats 2019 reject CGI on Cheetah to just some of the ridiculous plot points with the monkey's paw, just like the pseudoscience of the monkey's paw is just all freaking over the place, man. I don't know. This one didn't land with me, just pure and simple. I just like when I look at other duds in the DCU, like Suicide Squad, I can at least, kind of admire some of the performances and some of the style. This one, Dragon, I really, beyond the mall scene, which I knew was going to be good because you were hyping it up. Beyond that, I really felt a whole lot of nothing, and I think morally it's kind of ambiguous at best in terms of the message. I feel like it slides backwards. I don't want to be that guy, Dragon. Like I don't usually get into politics with this, but I don't know. I don't like in terms of being a feminist movie. I think this is a step backwards for the character, just because of all the Steve Trevor stuff. Oh, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting conversation, Dragon. That's all I have to say. This might be the most differing opinions that you and I have ever had on anything. It really might be.
Yep.
So, where do you want to start?
Okay. I guess we should start with the one bit of common ground I can give you.
Okay.
Speaking of common ground, Themyscira. So the flashback that starts off the movie Themyscira is the only negative thing I really have against the movie. Where basically I somewhat agree with the pacing thing. Where I feel the movie absolutely could be trimmed, especially on the rewatch. Yeah, we could have trimmed it up more. I mean, it's already a long movie, and I get that. But the main thing, I clocked how long it was. This Themyscira flashback, which look, you want to make it an opening, that's fine because I like how this thing serves the story and the way they're kind of truly, I mean, at the end of the day, we probably don't need it, but I'm saying I get what they're going for here, but we do not need to spend 10 minutes in this opening flashback on Themyscira. Because what they're doing here is, one, it's like a little nod to in the comics. I don't think we had this in the first movie, where Wonder Woman does like a few trials to eventually be elected as Wonder Woman. Which the movie went a different way, so they didn't use that in the first movie. So they kind of did a little bit of that here. And the main reason this thing's here is to establish kind of the connective theme of the film, which is there's no shortcuts to greatness. The anti-lie statement for the film. Like no, you can't cheat your way to success to greatness. You gotta do
I
it the
just
hard
want to
way.
say for the record, Dragon, this is like a minor nitpick in my issues with this movie. I thought it was it was a minor cheat that she did. Like to me, it was more like adapting to the situation than flat out cheating. But I don't know. That's just me.
Well, I mean, sure, but I mean the point of the thing is like she didn't hit the little blue, she didn't hit like the little blue ink thing that the little blue smoke flare gun thing that was set up
She
in the
did,
trials.
okay, she didn't hit the blue flare gun. Noted. All right.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So that's kind of like and the rest of them hit all the targets and they made their way there. The point being, yeah, it's that. And also the other reason I think the main reason like improvises like why this scene's in the movie is when you have actors in your movies, usually you contract them for franchises, in which I think we had Robin Wright and Connie Nielsen, Hippolyta and the Ant, kind of in the corner there, and it's like, we have their contract, so let's use them.
It's so sad that they get more screen time in Justice League than they do in this movie to a certain extent.
Well, I mean that's the thing though. Hippolyta's in Justice League. Robin Wright's scene was cut
Oh, that's
because
true. Yeah,
she's in the
yeah.
Snyder. Robin Wright should be in the Snyder cut. So that's essentially their three-picture deal, from what I understand. It's Justice League, Wonder Woman, and this movie. So yeah.
All right. So, and the other thing that we can agree on, Dragon, is yeah. I mean, the mall scene it's pure Donner.
Yes.
It is great with what it does. I mean, honestly, if the whole movie were just a 10-minute short film with the mall scene, I'd be completely satisfied with it.
Again, the mall scene easily. I mean, it was the most hype scene going in, as we've established. It's Wonder Woman in action. She's saving people. She's kind of we've seen her as kind of an established hero. Absolutely done her Superman-esque with the wink and everything, like the little shush, the little girl. It's fantastic. It's a feel good scene, man. It's like everything you wanted from Wonder Woman. You know, it's like she's and again, we're still playing in that whole DCU kind of like we're kind of limiting her in that she can't just have Wonder Woman existing and kind of being like on the front page. You know, she's doing a little move with the TR, like she's knocking out the security camera. So I'm so impressed that Patty Jenkins didn't just like throw that aside. You know what? Screw that. I'm playing by my own rules. You know, I'm going to play by the rules, but I'm going to make it work. I'm going to make it make sense. Yeah.
I think it arguably makes sense. I'm kind of on the direction of like, I don't know. Like to me, what does it make that makes sense? The knocking out security cameras and doing it kind of like in the shadows makes sense. But what doesn't make sense to me kind of comes more when we get into the finale, but we'll kind of build to it.
Well, what I'm saying is, I think Jenkins is working with kind of the dumb proviso that she's kind of stuck with. I think she's doing it the best she can.
I'm saying the more large scale the action sequences get, like the mall is perfect because that's an isolated incident. You know, for all anyone knows, like that could be like an urban legend of Wonder Woman saving people in a mall. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like when it gets to like global scale shit at the end of the movie, that's where I'm having a harder time believing that that nobody is that Bruce Wayne has to like look up this person from like 100 years ago.
But again, we're not photographed and we undo everything.
All right.
That's what I'm saying. Look, I hear it. I would have brought it up, Tiki, but I'm telling you, it's like we have a cut. We have a cure on that one. We literally everyone's. Right.
Okay. So Dragon, I'm sorry. I'm honestly like this movie pulls one of the most annoying superhero tropes ever, in my opinion. One of the most overdone superhero tropes. Can you guess what it is, my friend?
I was. I believe you're speaking of the villain,
Yes.
as in when you say trope, you mean the dual villain thing, right?
No, not necessarily the dual villain thing. I mean specifically what they do with Cheetah.
You mean like the whole just basically doing kind of the Edward Enigma thing.
Yeah, it's Jamie Foxx, it's Edward Nigma, it's Michelle Pfeiffer, it's Uma Thurman, Dragon. We've been down this road so many times. I'm sick of it. I think it's just the way that they played is kind of laughable. Her transformation, like first of all, the bad CGI at the end is just like I don't know. I'm shocked you're giving that a pass.
Look, I'll admit, all right, I think it would be. I wanted to see her a little bit more in broad daylight, but I kind of knew the sequences just from like just getting into it. Yeah, it's going to be at night, and like, yeah, I'd like to see like the thing look a little bright. I don't think the CG looks
It's
that
not
bad.
quite
I wish it was brighter.
a bad dragon, but I mean, I'm saying like
I think the Cats reject's a little harsh. See, you saw how bad Cats was. It is not that bad. Come on.
I'm saying it's a bad omen, though, Dragon. I'm saying in the year, like it's been a year since Cats, and that's not the thing I want to be reminded of with my visual effects.
I mean, again, I don't look. I mean, the thing to take away, I like the progression to that point, though. That's what I do like, and kind of getting her from like kind of there have
I
been
think
many cheat.
the way that they kind of showcase men and their reaction to her is just straight up cartoonish.
Well, okay, so one thing we got to talk about here is that one other gripe I have with the movie is the setting. So I still wish we could have just called it Wonder Woman 77 instead of 84, where ultimately we call it 80. We have 80s and just a few provisos in that, like for the 80s, because I believe the oil thing's an 80s thing. Obviously, our president, I think basically to get the nuke thing and to get Steve Trevor and all the different like wacky outfits, to justify all the wacky outfits in the that's my point. Basically, just the we have basically stylistic reasons and a little bit of a plot reason with the whole nuclear thing later on. That's why it's set in the 80s, which I don't think ultimately means like I think we still could have gotten a lot of mileage out of the 70s and just kind of the charm factor. Hey, it's Wonder Woman in 77. How
I
cool
think
is
the
that?
80s thing is like probably the biggest missed opportunity in this movie, honestly. I
To
really
be
do.
fair, that's kind of been Patty Jenkins's curse. She just keeps setting things not when you'd imagine they'd be set. Like, hey, Wonder Woman in the 40s. Nope. World War One. Wonder Woman.
Yes, but with that being said, I still think the first Wonder Woman movie was a genuinely good period piece, and it stuck to the tone of being a World War One movie for the most part. the problem with this is that Dragon, I'm saying like, I'm not that big of a Stranger Things fan. I think it's okay, like there's definitely like some, some episodes are better than others, but I think Stranger Things does a much better job of just kind of like marinating in the 80s of it all. This just kind of feels like like 80s night at your high school prom. You know what I mean? It's just like we got like a vaguely 80s aesthetic, like you said, for story reasons. There's some allusion to the time period, but man, I mean, there's hardly any 80s music. There's, like I said, if the whole movie had that sort of like Richard Donner quality to it that the mall scene has, I could see that, like, oh, this isn't just like a movie that's set in the 80s. It actually feels like, kind of like an 80s comic book movie. Like that would have been cool. But no, it's like the Richard Donner stuff to me has dropped really quickly. It just kind of devolved into like a mess of exposition in the first, like for. But one thing you got to admit with the pace of this movie, Dragon, there's like a solid hour between action scenes, and you know me, Dragon. I'm far from the person who's like, like, oh, all I want to see is fight, 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 But I'm saying like there are large chunks of this movie that are purely just exposition. For me personally, I don't know.
I mean, we do have 4 action sequences, so I don't necessarily know if like an hour per sequence is quite fair, but it's.
Nah, I'm pretty sure I timed it out, Dragon. Between the mall scene and then the tank scene, it's about an hour.
I'm saying it feels like kind of two per hour, though. I mean, it's well, regardless. Real quick, while we're talking about actions, back to the mall scene, real quick. Is I also want to point that I love that we didn't do the sword and shield again. I love that she's working purely with the lasso and the tiara. We're kind of scaling down Wonder Woman properly. Not doing the whole, like, obviously when we get into the shield territory, we're kind of getting other Star Spangled characters in the mix. That's
Right.
kind of encroaching on some territory there. Just saying, but yeah, again, just but anyway, we can't just go about the mall scene all day. But let me break down Cheetah a little bit. Here's kind of with the Minerva of it all. Then I'll get to the whole CG of it all. But I like. Here's the thing. I like how the friendship develops between Diana and Barbara. I do. I mean, it's basically. I think the idea is, these are like two lonely people. They work at the Smithsonian, and they're both kind of steeped in history. Again, obviously Wonder Woman literally, and her just like it's kind of been her kind of her trade, just kind of history, gemology, and she's been in her studies. And what I really liked about their dynamic, just the whole Cheetah Wonder Woman thing we've been building up throughout the movie, is I like that we're taking kind of the downtrodden every woman of the '80s who is inspired by Wonder Woman, and we're kind of exploring the downside of Wonder Woman inspiring women via the women via the Dreamstone. We're kind of like taking like she's aspiring to Wonder Woman, but again, kind of she doesn't have like the whole like truth mantra that the Amazons kind of bestowed upon her and kind of ingrained her. She didn't have that scene from the opening. She didn't have the whole no shortcuts thing. So she's like, hey, I have power now. And again, like any time of these jerks, and again, it's an era thing. Tiki, men were a lot less subtle back then. All right. Again, I think it would have played better in the '70s. I want to make that clear. I think all of that would have played better in the '70s. But
No,
even
Dragon, I don't think it. Like, here's the thing. I'm not even coming at it from like a politically like a PC, like, oh, it's super misogynist. Like, I'm coming at it from the fact that like it's like Drake. Honestly, the quote unquote transformation, she doesn't even look that different. It's like it's the most basic. Like, she puts her hair down and takes off her glasses. And honestly, Dragon, I'm just gonna speak frank here. As someone who's super attracted to girls with glasses, I find the trope of like, oh, you take off the glasses and then she's suddenly a beautiful woman. That trope is just offensive and frankly untrue from my perspective. So the fact that it's like, okay, take off the glasses and suddenly every male in the world wants to do her.
well, yeah, you're forgetting the whole magic thing where she's supposed to be kind of as that the magic's doing that though.
I mean, I get. Let's talk about the magic, Trey. Let's talk about the magic.
Fine.
I have thoughts. I have thoughts.
Yeah, you keep saying that,
Number
yet I'm hearing
one,
no thoughts. What do you got?
number one, this thing is like the most overpowered, like Infinity Stone bullshit. So how convenient is it that that it's just it's literally just in this like back alley like art, art gallery, like, back alley art black market thing behind the scenes of some random mall store, Dragon.
Well, I mean, I kind of read it as Maxwell Lord somehow trafficked that thing in there through that, through that little kind of thing going on there. I mean, he knew a lot about this thing, and of course, like a backdoor sort of thing going on there. I mean, somehow he found it, he tracked it down. I assume he was involved, and that's why it's there. And I believe that Heist was probably going to end up there, and that's why he shows up at the place. That's my assumption. I'll admit, not a lot there, but the point being, I don't think that's necessarily a big deal. Like how the Rock comes into our story.
All right, but I think the bigger issue though, Dragon, because you're right. At the end of the day, that is just kind of a plot hole. I think the bigger issue though, man, the rules of this thing, the rules of this wishing stone thing, it's just like they make it up as they go along, Dragon. They just make it up as they go along. It's like, first of all, we get the whole like the classic like, oh, I wish for 1,000 wishes, and then we get. I mean, I'm not even going to get into the whole like, oh, with the static of the TV, I can touch millions of people. I'm not even going to touch that yet. We'll get there, but just the like suddenly coming to the conclusion that like the movie just suddenly, okay, you can renounce the wish. Like, when was that even a factor before they even brought it up? Dre, there's so much of this movie in terms of lore. I was so thrown off by the fact that, like, with a movie like Wonder Woman 84, you think it's going to be just fun 80s hijinks, and they do get into the Cold War a bit in the end, for sure. But, man, I was thrown off by the wishing element of it, Dreg. It goes into some wacky supernatural territory. If this was a Shazam movie, sure. And honestly, Shazam is probably the best excuse that this whole wishing stone has to exist, is that this movie does technically take place in the same cinematic universe as Shazam, and Shazam has a lot of wonky magic shit in it. But the difference between this and Shazam is that this is like taking itself deadly seriously, whereas Shazam, obviously the charm of that movie is that it totally had a tongue-in-cheek quality to it. I'm not saying this movie's totally lifeless. It's certainly not a Zack Snyder, Batman versus Superman or Man of Steel or anything like that. It's got its light points to it for sure. But I just think that the wishing stone thing is just such a weird like plot point. I was not expecting it.
I mean, look, I don't know why everyone's having such a big problem with the magic stone. Okay, I think everyone's overthinking the dream stone. Okay, it's it's somewhat steeped in Greek myth somewhere along the lines, basically what they're pulling from. It's kind of a story, and it's in the. I'm saying it's a comic pull.
That's what they're pulling from.
I know. I'm just that's the analogy they keep using because it would be something he would know from all the way back. It's the idea. But I'm saying the actual like a stone that grants wishes. I want to say it was from the Wonder Woman comics, which is kind of a Greek lore pull, which obviously very identical to the monkey's paw.
Uh-huh.
And also, I mean, I'm saying there's always like a totem of some kind like this. Like there's the Philosopher's Stone, which is what I was thinking. It was a Justice League pull, where the Philosopher's Stone essentially was kind of the Camelot version of this thing, where it's like the Reality Stone. It changes and alters reality, in this case via a wish. So the point being, it's a magic stone which has some credence in the DC universe. So I'm fine. I had no problem with this. There being a magic stone that grants wishes. And I thought the way they shot the wishes and how the thing works was a lot of fun. I love the idea that Maxwell Lord, he just this. I guess we should shift to let me talk about Maxwell Lord a little bit. I'll get to I'll loop in the stone things. That's kind of what you have to do with Maxwell Lord, literally, in this movie. So I think Pascal's brilliant in the role. I like how we kind of do like a Ricardo Montalban Fantasy Island thing with him. I thought that was genius. Like, yeah, we kind of make him.
You know what I kept thinking with Pedro Pascal in this role, and this is one genuinely like really positive thing I'll give this movie, is that the whole time I'm thinking like Pedro Pascal's just like, oh God, I just got done filming 2 seasons of The Mandalorian and I have like 2 minutes of actual FaceTime. Thank God, I'm gonna show my face and I'm gonna go goofy with it. Like, and Pedro Pascal is just, he turns it up to 11, man. Like I do really appreciate his performance.
I mean, yeah, what I really love about what he did to this role is that Maxwell Lord's kind of a really stock character. He had a big role once in the comics, really just once. He did one big thing in a Wonder Woman. It was him between him and Wonder Woman. That's why he's in this movie. And I love everything we did here to make Maxwell Lord interesting. We gave him some great dimension. We took kind of this. We gave the typical sleazy businessman that you wanted to punch in the face. We gave him great dimension. One, we gave him charisma. We gave him the whole TV thing. We gave him like the catchphrase, "Life is good, but it could be better." We made him fun. We gave him like kind of interesting background, the whole Lorenzano thing. The idea he was kind of a by the bootstraps sort of guy who had a really hard knocks life with the abusive father and everything, and then just and we gave him a son and everything. I love that. I love that we just kind of we made him again. He's obviously he's very much a liar, which again puts him in great contrast to Wonder Woman, who's all about the truth. And again,
Sure.
this guy, what I love, so this is the reason I can't really discount that Themyscira opening, because again, I do love this flag we're planting of no shortcuts to greatness. That is Maxwell Lord's entire thing here. Once I kind of realized, oh, that's really cool, man. We took this compelling con man character and we gave him success via the ultimate shortcut with this Dreamstone. It's like we've conveyed, we have our magical connect with Wonder Woman, but we're not doing like the generic thing we did last time with Mr. Mustache himself, David Thewlis. Okay, we're not doing that again. We're not doing, because again, gods don't have mustaches.
I already admitted it's a better third act, Dragon. I already admitted that.
No, I know you did. What I'm saying is we're not just rehashing the old like Wonder Woman fighting a big old scary god or a giant monster. We're bringing a totem from that world into here, and again, we're showing Wonder Woman in our world, which is what I wanted. And we're showing her, like, we're seeing the corrupted influence of man here, in a sense. We're seeing like the weakness of man being greed and desperation, and we're seeing that through this character. And of course, this whole the lie of the cure-all wish, the monkey paw analogy, and there's strings attached, big strings attached. And I love Lord becoming a genie of sorts, because that makes sense for the TV personality ego. Like, oh, he's promising all these things. He would be he's a false genie. That's awesome.
Okay, but so this kind of goes back to the whole like they're making it up as they go along, because like the whole rules of like how does he like when he becomes the stone, like first of all he has to get the people to say the whole like I wish, like he has to frame it in the context of a wish, and then he has to like he has to say the contingencies, right? And that was one of the things that kind of had me scratching my head, was like, where does the logic of the contingencies come in?
What
like,
contingency are you talking about?
Just generally speaking, the concept of like like he can just give contingencies willy-nilly, like he has the power to basically just fuck them over in any way possible.
You mean like the whole like the fine print, like the basically the deal. He's a deal maker, and that's
because that to me is like some reality stone, like fucking like broken, like overpowered shit right there, to me at least.
Well, I think mainly now that basically the way I read it and the way it's kind of in the movie is that before the stone was a person. Before the stone was a person, basically it was like the proviso was you make a wish at a cost to you, as in like Diana gets Steve back, costs her strength, and Cheetah she loses her humanity, and basically she gets basically corrupted with the power and such. So that was before there was a guy. Now there's a guy. He gets to decide what exactly the cost is. Basically, because the stone did that. The stone decided. Now he gets to decide.
Why?
That's why I just.
Sorry.
That's what I'm saying. Like he gets to decide the cost now.
Seriously, like I said, Dragon just kind of feels like it's just being made up as it goes along. It feels like very like oh crap. Okay, we have to get the logic for this to connect to this to connect to this.
Well, we see the guy's done his research, so he's kind of he knows like the whole wish thing, so he's figured that part out. I mean, I'll admit he did take a big leap in like how exactly it's going to work with I want to be the stone. But that's the thing. He's a desperate man. That's the whole point. He's desperate to exist. He's got 48 hours to save his company, which, by the way, the whole black gold oil thing. I love that we've taken, it's a nod to like Donner, where we've taken like the Lex Luthor real estate scam, but we've applied it to kind of the the 80s. It's like we did a better rehash of it far better than we did with Superman Returns. Superman Returns like literally just a carbon copy. Like, well, this isn't nearly as relevant as it was then. Or this again with the time period settings. Like, okay, the whole oil thing, and he's very much he's an oil baron, for crying out loud. So again, I think the big heart tugger for me is I love Lord and his Son. I love the whole Alistair thing. I love that he lies to his son in the hopes of inspiring him, which parallels how Wonder Woman is inspiring the kids in the movies when she keeps saving him and have like they get really cutesy interactions. And like, not for a moment, no matter what Lord does, do I doubt that the love for his son. And we have those flashbacks later on when we kind of see Lord's life flash before his eyes. We see this kid. The Lord does not want to pass on the trauma his father passed on to him. And what's so great about that too is that Lord in the comics, and again, it's not like a big thing, is that he's like a legacy character, and like he's like Maxwell Lord the Fourth, and there's like a third before him. So I love we reverse engineered that to actually give it some purpose. You know, it's not just like, oh yeah, he's like the fourth one, like a line of like these big fancy businessmen. He's trying to craft a legacy for the next one.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, overall, I mean, I like the way we represented the wishing. I mean, I know you kind of have a kind of not crazy about like the how it works, but I mean, just I don't know. I mean, just
I
the
think
way
it takes up way too much of the movie for one. I mean, just like establishing everything and then kind of like building everything up. I mean, like I said, it just feels like there's a lot of moving parts, and like in a certain point in the movie, it just doesn't really feel like we're going anywhere
yeah, it's only three moving parts though. It's three characters, three stories that all interlock. I don't really see how that's too much though.
compared
Because
to the
again,
first movie, which is very much a character piece with with pretty much two main characters. I mean,
huh.
I don't know. I still think it's just a little too much.
I mean, they're all
Because
connected
we're
by the
gonna because we're
stone
gonna
too.
throw in
So,
a fourth player into the mix, Dragon, that we're gonna have to talk about soon.
well, I mean, still, like Diana and this next guy we're about to talk, they're pretty much one story.
Sure.
That's really three stories and all connected by the stone. I think it works pretty well.
Great. So I'm glad that you didn't say Steve Trevor, because he is just like some guy.
Well, that's what I get for trying to preserve a little sparkle of mystery. But
I mean, Dragon, this is. I don't know. I just don't know, man. I just
what? Okay,
don't
what is the
know.
problem with Steve Trevor? Okay, what's wrong with him?
Multiple things. Number one, why do we have to do the fish out of water gag again?
What? Come
Why?
on! What? Because he's a man at a time now. He was in like 1914.
Dragon, hold on. I'm gonna cite your favorite movie of all time, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. All right,
Yes.
that movie has man out of time stuff in it. It definitely has man out of time humor, but obviously, as you can tell me, that's not his only characterization. Like with this, it's like, yeah, there's a little bit of like he's a pilot and he cares about Diana and he's a soldier, but for the most part, I've never seen a train before. I'm gonna try on a bunch of wacky clothes. I don't know, man. It really, the goofy ass tone, just, I will say this: Gal Gadot and Chris Pine have chemistry. They have chemistry. I'll give you that much. Like this is why this movie reminds me so much of the Amazing Spider-Man 2, Dragon. You got the Jamie Foxx Electro thing going on. You got the likable lead characters that don't really have a lot going on in their storyline either. I mean, I don't know. Leslie Dragon, I'm not even going to get into the whole the moral implication. Have you heard about the controversy with?
Well, I think vaguely, but I mean vaguely about the whole like the ethics of the like the guy is like what happened to this guy's life.
Yes, I'm not going to get into that, but I will say that just I think the way that they shot it, like, why couldn't they just have Steve Trevor just like Thanos snap himself in and out of existence?
Okay, couple things. Okay, first of all, Avengers has the fish out of water stuff, has the man out of time stuff more than Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier, it's like we
And
have like a
even
little
in
checklist.
Avengers, I feel like Cap has, he's not just the man at a time. There's a little bit more going on with him, especially in regards to his leadership and his rivalry with Tony and everything.
Right. Anyway, Steve Trevor. Of course, go into the Steve Trevor. He's the big mystery of the movie. A lot of people are going, it's like we know Chris Pine's back, but the question is how. So, how the heck do we bring back Steve Trevor? The long shot theory, by the way, which would have been awesome, but I had no like hopes that it was actually going to have. Like, come on, it'd be awesome, but they're not going to do this. I mean, Snyder already shot himself in the foot with this. We're not going to make it happen. Martian Manhunter as Steve Trevor
God.
would have been cool, and technically, we set up the Martian Manhunter behind the
Yes.
scenes because Snyder just wants to make us wait for everything. But anyway, The point being, it was a long shot. The Dreamstone, I thought the Dreamstone was a good call. And basically, what we did is we quantum leaped. We did like this quantum leap esque kind of body possession thing with them, which
Yeah, you don't have to explain to me that it's quantum leap. I know it's quantum leap. I'm just saying, why did we have to go that extra step with it? Why couldn't you have just poofed into existence? Like if we're already going so fast and loose with the rules as it is.
I was about to get into that, Tiki. What I'm saying is I don't I think the reason we do this, and I think the reason it works maybe a little better, is that we don't entirely undo the loss by making it like, hey, he's popped out of thin air. So literally you got him back. You cheated death. You brought Steve back. Where no, it's kind of a little it sets up the foregone conclusion that this is temporary, guys. Morally, Wonder Woman can't go on with this, this Steve Trevor and this guy's
It
body.
doesn't stop her from doing things.
Yeah,
We're talking about morals.
but
What
she
if this
hasn't
guy
seen
was
the guy.
gay?
So she's rented what?
I'm saying in terms of morals, if we're talking strictly morals, Dragon, the one argument I've heard that's actually compelling, because you know me, I'm not about the politics, but the one argument I've heard about the morals that I do think is a compelling argument is, what if this guy was gay?
I mean, look, it's been 70 years. They lost each other, and I mean, the guy's not going to remember anything anyway. He doesn't remember anything at the end. Okay, it's a mulligan once she renounces. It all works out, okay? It's not a
And
big.
by the way, I like at the end how she's just like, the guy kind of steps out in daze and she's like, oh, we've done things.
He doesn't know that.
Also, I'm just gonna get it in there. Now, the fact that the movie turns into a Hallmark movie for like 2 minutes at the end is kind of silly.
Oh,
I don't even dislike it. It's just silly.
I mean, it's just really weird how again this thing. Presumably, they shot this whole thing. I mean, for all we know, again, it was supposed to come out when it was supposed to come out in June. So this thing would have just had a Christmas ending on the end of it. And just given how events have worked out, comes out on Christmas, ends at Christmas.
Oh, I am not convinced that this wasn't shot, after they knew it was coming out on Christmas, though.
I mean,
That
it's
ending
possible.
feels so unsubstantial.
It feels like a reshoot, but there was no reports of it. But then again, maybe they actually lied about something for a change, and they actually got in there with nobody knowing, which is so rare in Hollywood these days. Anyway, but of course, basically the whole thing with the Steve Trevor role, just bringing him back, is like, I love that we kind of give Diana a goodbye and closure with Steve, and just in regards to Chris Pine's like the whole man at times. I think Chris Pine, he's really fun in the role reversal with the whole fish out of water stuff. And again, I will argue, I feel we don't have any of that if it's not an '80s movie, though. I feel if it were in the '70s, we would have cut down on all. I think the main reason we do the man at the comedy with him is because we're in the '80s setting. The fanny pack, you got to admit, the fanny pack's fun though. Come on.
I mean, my whole thing is just like we've seen so many fish out of water takes from superheroes like in the last just 10 years. I just, that plus the Edward Nigma of it all, it's just a lot of cliche to take in, Dragon.
But don't you think it's kind of nice though that again he showed her the ropes in the first movie, now she's showing him the ropes, years later, and the
I
light that he
said they
kind of
have
showed.
good chemistry, but still
Yeah,
writing wise, I just don't think it's a very fresh screen. Like I said, execution wise, it's not terrible, but in terms of the screenwriting, it's really unoriginal.
but
That's
again, it's
what I
logical.
go
He's
down
going
on
to have
it.
an adjustment period though. That's I don't know. It's logical. He's going to have an adjustment period, so why not make it a charming affair? Which again, I know the chemistry is not the problem here, but it's just still, it's like I don't know. It's just mirroring. It's mirroring the other movie. It's not just like doing it again. I don't think.
All right.
Anyway, so again, after really cute new escalator shenanigans aside, I love that we basically overall just with the Trevor thing before we move on to some other stuff is I like that we found a way to do Steve Trevor in 2 decades without doing the thing from the show where it's like we had in the Wonder Woman show we had Steve Trevor in the '40s, and then in the '70s you had Steve Trevor who's the same actor, it's still Lyle Wagner, but he's just is a son of Steve Trevor.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't go that direction because there was a possibility we were going to go that direction with it.
Probably would have had to been grandson, just given the World War One of it all. It was in the
Yeah,
'70s.
yeah.
That would have made it even more problematic. Yeah. But okay, so speaking of the whole Trevor and one of them, let's talk about the invisible plane. So I love that we worked in the invisible plane. Like, oh my God, look at that! We got the after all this time, we
I
finally
think
got
it
the
comes out
invisible
of
jet.
nowhere,
Got it
man.
today in this. Well, that's kind of the point, Big. It does come
I
out.
mean, they,
No,
they,
no.
they, like, it is technically explained, sure, but man, is it like just I don't like Wonder Woman's just she turns into Harry Potter all of a sudden. That's how I read it.
Tiki, we'd established in the first one she's the daughter of Zeus, and you know what? 70 years have gone by. She's been on adventures. She's doing all the anthropology and everything. Perhaps she's learned a few tricks in 70 years, being the daughter of a god.
Right, I want to talk about that 70 years thing now that you bring it up. Because again, with the politics, Dragon, you know me, I'm not that I'm not that big on the politics of it all. For the most part, I could care less. To me, I think the most offensive thing about this whole movie in regards to the politics is the whole idea that Wonder Woman's life, her existence seems to revolve around Steve Trevor to the extent that like it's been 80 years and she's still that like that's the like out of that's like the one thing she's holding on to. Like she can't find anyone in 80 years. I find that hard to believe, Dragon.
Okay, well, first of all, again, it's kind of like almost a la Cap there. Again, there's like the whole shared life experience thing. 'Cause you got to remember too. I mean, even before the 70 year period, again, she's still like a pretty much like like kind of a demigod. It's been around for even longer, for all we know. I don't know how old the aging thing works with Themyscira. I mean, again, she's been around for ages. The point being, you have that, but again, Steve Trevor again, it was like it was the first man she ever encountered, and again, he kind of died very traumatically, and they had a really again they kind of had a big experience together, and again, it's just I just feel she's just kind of a bit of a loner. I don't know, it's just kind of the way it's gone. I don't know.
Then the fact that he has to teach her how to fly, essentially. Let's bring that up
That
because
was nice.
that's
Are you
another
kidding me? You really didn't like that?
I didn't like. I don't know. To me, it felt a little bit like it kind of just in terms of like if you're talking the politics of it all, it's kind of like, well, frankly, Dragon, this is the first time. This is kind of the first time ever that I've seen this as an issue, and you're gonna hate me when I say this, Dragon. It's a little mansplainy.
Oh, come on.
It's a little mansplainy.
Okay, one, the man's a pilot and he feels very passionately about flying. And it's a nice moment between the two of them where one, just let me backtrack here. Okay, one, just in getting the invisible plane, it's nice that logically it makes sense. They got to get from point A to point B. They got to get all the way to Cairo. How are they going to do that when the guy doesn't have a passport? Well, they're going to get a jet. And of course, Wonder
Why do we
Woman
have
jet.
to go
How
Cairo
can we not?
again? I don't even remember.
What?
I said, why do we have to go to Cairo again? I don't even remember.
Well, Maxwell Lord's in Cairo, and again, he's the whole stone thing. They don't before they realize he's the stone. They're trying to. They know Maxwell Lord has the stone. He's gone to Cairo. Therefore, we got to go to Cairo to get Maxwell Lord. My point is again, Wonder Woman jet. Why not? Let's do the invisible jet. I mean, Steve Trevor, he's a pilot. He can fly the thing. So of course, works a little mojo and the cloaking thing that was on Themyscira. So it's not completely coming out of nowhere. She knows well this thing's possible. She's been
It was
trying it
all
out.
but that doesn't mean that she can just like conjure it out of thin air, though.
But that's, I mean, yet again, she's got the daughter of Zeus. I mean, if he did it, it's possible. What I'm saying it's not entirely infeasible. And anyway, so I like that again within this whole him flying, him doing his thing, and he's talking about why he loves flying. It kind of again, Warren's all scared all about inspiration, inspiring people. I like that he kind of inspired something in her. It's not about like explain. Here's how you fly. He's just kind of talking about something. It's kind of a lovely moment. Once she loses him later on, it's just kind of just thinking about like one of the last moments they shared together. It's like it unlocks yet another awesome thing we get to do Wonder Woman that we've never done before. Where I've seen it like in the animated series and everything. We get to see it with the one live action. She can fly now. She's falling with style. Yeah, she's falling with style. And it's quite nice. It was forged because of the connection she has with Steve Trevor. That's really nice.
I mean, yeah, okay. I'm just gonna drop it because I
They
don't
got
want to get into
fireworks and everything too. It's the 4th of July. It's a beautiful little scene.
it. So the tank scene was cool, I guess. I
Yeah,
mean,
I love the Cairo convoy.
hard to get to, but it's pretty much a takeoff of the Raiders scene.
Yeah. And again, yet another thing with the '80s setting. So again, I'm not fully happy with the '80s setting, but I'm saying with just making peace with it. I think we did milk out some cool '80s things here and there, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
But it's a cool. This is kind of our de facto No Man's Land sequence in that it's a really cool sequence of Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor in action. I love seeing her run, kind of Civil War Captain America style. That's really cool.
Right, I'm
You
going
know,
to bring up. Yeah, I'm glad you bring up No Man's Land, Dragon, because that's one of the big issues I have with this movie. I'm sorry, I keep using your points against you. I'm sorry, but to me, this movie has nothing that even comes close to matching No Man's Land. Do you know me? I'm not that big of a fan of the first Wonder Woman. I like it all right, but it's not one of those movies I go back and visit. Like, but No Man's Land to me is like an iconic superhero moment. It really is. It's definitely like one of those moments that's gonna like be in the echelon, right up there with something like the train scene from Spider-Man 2 in terms of its importance to the genre. And there's just I like this movie where there's definitely like on a technical level it seems inspired the same way that sequence did.
again, I think I mean, we have the mall scene, we have this scene as kind of our No Man's Land contenders. I mean, look, No Man's Land was really big for her for sure. But I'm just saying again, this is sort of it's kind of what in the comments we have we kind of have Space Mountain in the comments saying, that sums up my thoughts on this. 6 out of 10 at best. I disagree, but he goes on to say, at this point after the original, where again, some things you can't compete with the original. No Man's Land is a very monolith because that's the first time Wonder Woman's on screen. That's kind of her big moment unveiling as Wonder Woman. So it's kind of hard to recapture lightning in a bottle. I'm just saying it's the No Man's Land esque sequence, and that's a big moment where you have Wonder Woman in action again, looking awesome, doing some really cool stuff. Um, I love her saving the kids, and that's what makes a No Man's Land sequence for me. Within this intense sequence, while we're doing kind of our cool Raider shenanigans, we do have some gripping stuff that is representative of Wonder Woman. She's giving her all to save these kids. We set up she's a little more vulnerable now as we learn. Oh God, she could be shot now. That's not good. Her whole thing's about getting shot at.
Yeah.
And we have like the little confrontation with Maxwell Lord, the whole like, where's the stone? Like, you're looking at it. And he says, oh man, he's so gleeful when he says that because he's got the angles for it. He's outfoxed her, which is big. I mean, and yeah.
All right, and Dragon. At this point, I pretty much said all my points. So, what else do you want to get into, like besides the finale?
Well, again, before the finale, I guess let me go. Let's go through the full cheetah thing again. So now like the basically let's meld together our two cheetah scenes here. The
I
ones
mean, that's
basically
already pretty much like cheated. Like, what is there to say? She's just like every other kind of like Jamie Foxx. Like I feel like it's like when people say like, what does Avatar remind you of, and you roll off a whole list of movies. I feel like it's the same way with this. Like I said, it's the Michelle Pfeiffer, the Uma Thurman, the Jim Carrey, the Jamie Foxx. I've seen this character so many times. To me, there's just nothing new about the execution at all.
well, what I meant more so was like her actually the progression of her suiting up to eventually being kind of spliced into cheetah
All right.
lady. So I like the whole I like when we had that White House sequence. She's kind of wearing, but it kind of gave her something akin to the outfit to when she eventually kind of becomes full cheetah. That's kind of a nice way of getting like we have very different versions of cheetah through the comics. Like one's just the lady in a costume to her being the actual cheetah, half woman kind of hybrid thing. And I like that we've kind of used it through the arc of her losing her humanity, and we've kind of literalized it in kind of that transition, and kind of her becoming. And again, basically, we've kind of turned her into kind of a perversion of the Wonder Woman idea. Which again, just kind of like she has always been like one of the go-to Wonder Woman bad guys. And it's usually like, well, Wonder Woman kind of fights her a lot, therefore she's kind of de facto kind of the arch foe. But we really kind of gave it some kind of some stakes there. It's like they started off as friends, and she was kind of the de facto Etta Candy in a sense. She was sort of like kind of her friend, and he was helping her out a lot on the mission again. But then there was a turn there with the whole we need to take this away. We're like, no, I don't want this taken away. Where again, ultimately, greed is kind of the corrupting factor there. She wants, she's desperate for power. Again, a woman at this point in time who just, she wants the power. She wants essentially to be like Wonder Woman, which again is admirable, especially at that time. If she didn't, again, she doesn't have that She doesn't have that rigid, like, no, you have to do the right thing here. She doesn't have that. It's like, she's been aching for this for such a long time. And they kind of sets these two friends kind of like in kind of conflict. And we do kind of the cat and the canary thing ultimately with the golden. How do you feel about the golden armor? Let's talk about that.
I mean, I don't like aesthetically it looks cool, I guess. I don't know. I didn't really have much of a reaction to it one way or another. And as far as this characterization goes, I mean, I guess you're just kind of picking up. First of all, Drake, you're way more forgiving about the Riddler shit than I am, man. Like, to me, that was a deal breaker with the whole movie. Um, and I don't know. I just like I mean, I'm glad that it worked for you. I want to make this clear, Dragon. I'm not like, we're having this debate in the spirit of just like, because I'll kind of quote my boy Campy on this. That's the magic of being a film fan. We don't have to agree, but I don't know, man. It's just like what you're saying on paper is technically true, but just the execution of it to me is just all wrong.
Well, to the armor point, I just want
Yeah.
to get in there. So again, the armor. I was really worried about the armor going into this movie because it just looked like, oh, we're just pulling something kind of neat from the comics, like the Alex Ross like Golden Eagle armor thing. But I like that we gave it a little bit of story content here. The whole Asteria thing, which of course we reveal Asteria is Linda Carter.
Yeah, that's true.
Which again, it's a cute little cameo. Like, hey, and here's the really cool thing about Asteria, especially on the rewatches, and you realize the whole thing between Cheetah and Wonder Woman is again basically once Wonder Woman suit up in this golden thing is that Asteria is Wonder Woman's. It's her idol. It's her own personal Wonder Woman, which thankfully is Linda Carter, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the fact that again, because she sacrificed herself, and little does Wonder Woman know at this point that they all assume like she died for our she kind of died so we could all live on Themyscira, as far as they knew. They forged this armor for her. They went back, and all they could find is the armor. And it's the fact that this lady, as we reveal, she's living in man's world before Wonder Woman was even doing that for all these years. So it's again, it's kind of in a sense now when you look at it, it's Wonder Woman guised as her inspiration versus the misinterpretation of Wonder Woman's influence in Cheetah. So these two kind of like these representations of kind of what are heroes to themselves are kind of going up against each other. So I like that the armor had a little bit more story content, just like, oh, look at her in the cool gold armor. It's like a variant Wonder Woman. Oh, look at her go.
I mean, like, to me, I'm glad you're getting all that out of it, but to me, it was kind of like one level above the whole, like, look at her in the cool armor. It was more just like, oh, look at her in the cool armor that has some sort of, like, context, like some historical context because the script says so. Ooh. And then as for the Linda Carter thing, like, it's cool, but it's not, like, I don't know. It just feels like a really easy, like, fan servicey thing to do. So I'm not, and this is good. I guess maybe the reason I'm not excited for the Linda Carter thing is just because I've never seen the Linda Carter show. Maybe if I've seen the show, maybe I'd be a lot more excited for that reveal. But to me, it just kind of feels like, all right, there she is. Like it almost feels inevitable that we'd have to work in a Linda Carter cameo at some point. So, is it cool that it's the character's idol? Yeah, I guess. But I mean, by the same point that kind of robs like we could have had like a genuinely like really Oscar caliber actress in that role, and Linda Carter, I'm sure she's charming, but I don't really think she's very multifaceted as an actress. I don't know. The whole thing just kind of just doesn't. Dragon, you're getting a lot more out of it than I am.
Well, let me ask you one more thing, then we'll move on to the climax. Okay, just I really do you think the White House fight between you kind of proto Cheetah or however you want to kind of phrase it before she actually gets transformed into the thing is better than the kind of the big CG Cheetah fight?
Yes, just because the CG cheetah fight, the effects are just really, really bad. I mean, I don't know how else to put it.
Well, what I was trying to get at is I really like the conversation between two of them while they're fighting in the White House scene. I like how they're kind of debating about the points of like you don't know what powers you're meddling with here versus like I've wanted this power all my life. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
I like there's a little bit more content than just, and also kind of another Donner thing is realize that big White House fight, just like Donner than the Donner sequel.
Mhm.
But yeah, all right, okay. Let's see. So let's talk about. I think honestly, one of the things I'm most impressed by in the movie, the third act, the big Maxwell. Let's talk about Maxwell Lord's big plan here, which essentially you kind of the whole particle thing. So basically, what Lord's done here is his big plan. Once he has the whole wishing stone thing, once he becomes the wishing stone, is he's going to use Reagan's essentially his Star Wars satellite, which is such a great. He's using like the basically this broadcast system, which is linked up to the Star Wars satellite of the time. And we're going to use it. Essentially, Lord's going to use like the particle thing, which basically is going to be able to interact with any TV, any thing in the nearby area. It's going to be able to spread as if he's touching them. It's going to be basically a way to make him as godlike with the wishes as possible. We're going to make Maxwell Lord live up to his namesake.
If you don't think this is ridiculous, I don't know what to tell you. We're just living on two different planets.
I'll admit the particle thing's a buy, but I'm just the particle thing's a buy, but I mean it's kind of like in some sense like well I mean again it's. Interesting. I mean, I don't know exactly how particles work per se in the way
I
they're.
want to make this clear. It's not that I don't like it, because you know me, I like my cheese, and at this point in the movie gets plenty cheesy, but it's ridiculous, Dragon. Come on, just admit it's ridiculous. Come on, do it. Embrace the dark side, Dragon. Roll around in the dirt with me.
Well, no, that's why I'm taking. Just tell me what. I think we've lost visual.
What?
We've lost visual, and also, but what I'm asking specifically, what's losing you about the whole particle thing?
Just the fact that like basically it's like conceptually, we go from like he has to physically be holding hands with the person to grant the wish to suddenly like okay, like it's just a buy, man. I don't know why I have to explain it. It's just conceptually on a very basic level. It's just a big buy. It's a lot to ask for me to. It's very much just the rules are changing yet again with this wishing stone thing.
Look, I admit that it's a buy, but I'm just saying the rules they're playing with in the movie here are that again, the particle touching is that again somehow something is being conveyed. Like some basically, as long as he's in like the particle beam thing, it's going to transfer to everybody.
Dragon, like I said, man, if you want to try and, I don't. It's silly. It's okay if it's silly, Dragon. I don't care. I just want you to admit that it's silly.
I don't think that's silly, really. I don't know. It's just, I mean, it's a buy.
Okay. I don't know. Whatever. I can't. I'm trying to be reasonable about this. I'm trying to meet you halfway here, but oh man, I don't know.
Well, my point is, particle or not, I'm the main takeaway I have in this scene is Pascal's performance and what's going on here. And basically, let me talk about my favorite choice in the film. Okay, my favorite choice in the film is having Wonder Woman not kill Maxwell Lord. See, the big thing they tee up here, Tiki, is this whole confrontation between the two of them. It's there's the big claim to fame Maxwell Lord has is his death. What happens is he's broadcasting and there's this comic called Infinite Crisis. And basically what happens is all you need to know is that Maxwell Lord is broadcasting to the world. He's about to have Batman and Superman kill each other, and Wonder Woman, the only way she can stop it is by killing Maxwell Lord, so she snaps the guy's neck on live TV. So that's what happens. And I'm seeing this scene like, oh God, and we kind of establish in the movie, she either has to kill him or she can get everybody to renounce their wishes, which is a long shot.
This is such a deep cut thing for you to be for it to be your favorite thing in the movie. The fact that they subvert this one very specific comic book moment.
That's really cool, though.
I'm just saying that's a really Dragon. How many people watching this movie? Watching this movie are even going to know that this dude is from the comics at all? Well, I mean, that's a really, really like more power to you if it did it for you, man. I'm just saying, like on a very basic, like general audience level, no one is gonna like really pull the significance of that.
Well, look, I'm saying obviously the best part of this movie is the mall scene, but I'm saying one of my favorite choices, and they could have gone one way versus another way, is the choice to not kill the bad guy. And again, if anyone recognizes the name Maxwell, they know the moment. So at least the guys going and knowing Wonder Woman, they're going to know the moment.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm saying a portion. You're right. The general audience isn't going to know. That's why I'm saying it's one of my favorite choices within the film.
I don't mean to jump down your throat about it. That's fine.
Jenkins knows is like a 50-50 way to go. And what I'm saying is even in somewhat in a general sense, somewhat, is that if you've seen Man of Steel, if you've seen the DCU films, and basically what Patty Jenkins is kind of facing here is that, okay, we've done this before and it did not go well. So that's what I'm saying. A part of me is wondering, are they going to go that way? Then I'm kind of realizing, well, yeah, we've kind of done that with Man of Steel, and again, that we did not capitalize on any of that real estate.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. We did. It was very controversial in the comics. So, oh my God, Wonder Man was killed. So, when Batman and Superman definitely had problems with that. So it was this thing, and I love the choice. Ultimately, what we did here is that we did not go that route. Not that I'm saying it technically it would have worked, but would have been a really dark way to go. I mean, this at least would have had more credence than Man of Steel, given we did nothing with that in the next movie. But what we did so smartly and so true to the character is that we're true to the compassion and truth angle of Wonder Woman. So instead of killing Max Lord, she did the impossible. She found a way to, kind of like sell him and the world into, renouncing their wishes by exposing him to the truth, exposing him to the truth about,
Okay.
what like Steve Trevor's gone, that's the truth. I mean, there's no way around that. Or
Dragon, we're living. Yeah. I mean, I know that this movie's set in 1984, but we're living in 2020. Humanity is shit.
Well, that's now, yeah.
Do you really, honestly think this is where the logic of this movie just breaks like a goddamn floodgate for me?
Well,
All right,
they're all showing like little lasso things. They're all seeing the truth being the idea too. So
but Dragon, do you really think that every person in the world would renounce their wish? What if someone was like on their dying mother's deathbed and wished for their cancer to be cured, and then they had to renounce that wish? I'm saying the moral shit that the whole renouncing the wish, which, by the way, again, I'm going to repeat, it kind of comes out of nowhere that you can even renounce the wish in the first place. But oh man, I think the static is a buy, and I think having everyone read it. And I know you're gonna say it's the last of Dre. Everyone's influenced by that. I Dre. At this point, it's just like you're just, if you go along with this, you're just being spoon fed whatever the screenwriters want you to think. I mean, it's like there's so many. It's a house of cards that just topples for me. And like I said, it's fun to watch, and it's genuinely like I think that the worst part of this movie for me easily is that long stretch in between the mall scene and the tank scene. That's easily the worst part of the movie for me, Dragon. But man, I just like fundamentally, I don't know. The movie just becomes really ridiculous. Between the whole like the president just, oh, I want more nukes. Like that's like the most short-sighted thing. I don't know. I don't know.
okay, well, to be fair, it's not
silly.
okay. A couple things. Okay, one with the president. Okay, so Reagan's asking for more nukes. He's not going. I want more nukes. He's not Bush, Tiki. Come on.
No, he's Reagan, but still.
That's what I'm still. What I'm saying is that Reagan's the idea, like the amazing. He thinks more nukes are going to be the solution if we have a bigger deterrent, which basically is that's Cold War thinking. We have more of a deterrent. It's going to again. He's not just thinking like he's not going completely half cocked into that. It's just like, well, if we had more nukes, I guess because I love he's just having kind of this weird conversation with Maxwell Lord. It's like because he has no idea why he's meeting with this guy. It was just kind of a really honest conversation about well, if we had nukes, we can make the world a safer place. Which again, it's a wrong line of thinking. But again, it's just giving a stab at what might fix. That's his line of thinking. Now, on to the other thing I don't think anyone's considering. Speaking of said point with Reagan, is that even without the lasso of truth angles, even taking that off the tables for a moment here. Again, everyone's gotten the raw end of the wish as well, where Mister like I'm gonna take back the land, the ancestral land, lock the people out with the giant wall and everything. Is well, hey. Those people are now he's going to be left without his security team facing the raw end of that wish, and presumably everyone else, as we saw in that sequence, like the guy who wished that lady dead, he's feeling kind of bad about himself. Like, oh no, I wish that lady dead. What am I? That's not great. None of them knew about
people that wished people dead that I'm worried about. It's the people that wish people alive that I'm worried about.
This is the next point I'm about to get to, Tiki. Even if they have a feeling on that, the other thing, nuclear Armageddon's about to strike, so maybe. I don't know.
But dude, Dragon, all right, whatever.
Say it's a lot of chaos going on. Maybe people, even if they don't fully know, maybe they realize, okay, maybe this a lot of bad stuff's been happening because of all this wishing stuff. Maybe we renounce the wish. Like we didn't know this was an option until she said it. Maybe we renounce the wishes. Maybe the bad stuff stops. Which there's that. There's the last. There's a number of things going
The
on
fact
here.
that everyone on Earth goes for that.
But still, even if like the majority of them do it, mainly if the guys who are about to launch the nukes are, that's really what's important right now. So we don't blow
Oh
it
man.
up. So I'll
Oh,
take the win on
I
that
don't
before
know
we have
what
a few
I don't know what
stragglers.
happened to get us this far apart on our opinions, Dragon. I don't know. This is an anomaly.
Well, also, again, I already mentioned I like seeing another really nice choice in this scene is I love how we kind of used a bit from BVS. Where we used like one of the only good part from BVS, mind you. Okay, we used the Beautiful Lie score, the whole when Bruce Wayne's parents are getting killed in BVS, the opening of that movie, we play the Hans Zimmer score, and basically it's titled "A Beautiful Lie." So I love we're playing this as Maxwell Lord's kind of coming to his realization about the value of the truth here, and kind of as he takes a truthful look at himself by the lasso, seeing his humble and sad beginnings, and he has this moment where he chooses his son over power. Which again, I like that Wonder Woman used compassion to save the day with all of this. It's just it's nice. Truth brought a son, brought Lord and the son closer together. Like I don't need you to make me proud. I just said I love you. You're my dad. It's a beautiful stuff there. I don't know. I thought it was really good.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Anything else we need to hit?
No, we already hit the Linda Carter thing and the Christmas thing, so I think that's
Okay.
I guess the final thoughts. I mean, unless you have anything,
So
just final
final
thoughts.
thoughts, Dragon. I just want to say, like, I honestly, Dragon, legitimately, I just want to re-emphasize. I'm honestly stoked for you that you like this movie as much as you do. I really am. From the bottom of my heart, I know you were excited about it. Just because it doesn't work for me doesn't mean it can't work for you. I'm very much a film fan who respects that theory, so I'm having fun tearing it down. But I want to emphasize, Dragon, I want to emphasize this movie I did have fun with. With movies like Justice League or Batman versus Superman or Man of Steel, those aren't necessarily fun movies. I think fundamentally they're maybe like structurally in terms of the screenplay a little bit better, but like it's got a lot of stuff to chew on. It's crazy, but man, it's something to talk about. And you know me, Dragon. So that, like sometimes with these spoiler casts, if it's a movie that I have like kind of like, well, I liked it, but I didn't love it. A lot of times I don't have a lot to say, but got to admit it. This one I had a lot to say about this one for better or worse. So obviously, I don't think that our opinion on anything has been this radically different, but because of that, I think this is a really fun conversation to have, and I honestly kind of wish our opinions were this different more often because it makes for fun podcast fodder.
All right, before I get my final thoughts, Space Mountain has a comment here I want to address because he
Yeah.
basically just to clarify something. He says Wonder Woman learned to fly in 1984, which we saw. But in 2016, takes a plane in BVS. Now, okay, here's the thing. Everyone keeps bringing up, it's like the old thing, like, if she can fly, because always a conflict. Sometimes we depower so she can't fly, therefore we have the invisible plane, or vice versa. And it's simple, okay? We heard in B movie, I think it's always remained true, kids. It's that who wants to fly everywhere if you can fly? Okay, I mean it's gonna get exhausting after a while. Maybe she wants to take a plane. Maybe again, if she's gonna fly, she's gonna have to put the outfit on. She's in hiding. There are many reasons why she's taking the plane in BVS. She doesn't even get on the plane, so it's fine.
I mean, I will say, out of all the plot holes, that was not one that bothered me.
That's what I'm saying. So, all right, okay. So, final thoughts for me. I mean, I had a great time with this movie. Admittedly, could be trimmed up a little, no question. And again, we didn't really truly need the 84 setting. Again, we needed it for a few reasons, plot wise, ultimately. But I mean, I think maybe another rewrite. This very easily could have been set in 77. But Patty Jenkins just keeps going against the grain the years of having these Wonder Woman things. A little bit more of a slam dunk setting wise on the first one. Won't make any quibbles. But again, this is the Wonder Woman movie I've been waiting for a long time. It nicely represents the character's values and the staples of kind of the stuff that she tackles. And again, I don't know if they kind of got lost in what we were here and there. But again, it's the whole we're kind of seeing kind of herself kind of paralleled and reflected in Barbara and Maxwell Lord a little bit there. The whole values of the truth and desperation, and kind of a woman trying to make it in the '80s when she didn't grow up on an island of all Amazons. What the kind of experience is like, and now you have the powers of Wonder Woman. How it's going to change things. Got it. That's some interesting stuff to it. I like how those three stories tie into each other. I don't know why, Tiki. I don't get all the vitriol for this movie, because even if people have quibbles or plot holes or something, it just feels like there's like a wave of negative. I'm not saying it's all coming from you, but I'm saying in general. I keep hearing I feel like, hey,
honestly, I feel like I'm one of the more reasonable people in terms of
like, I
people
see
that
tweets.
outwardly hate this thing.
I still like an article pops up and it has hey, reaction to Wonder Woman. There's like a single tweet on the screen says this Wonder
Dragon,
Woman
there's a
84
hashtag going around. I don't know if I won't say it on air, but I don't know if you're aware of it. But it's a bad hashtag.
It's not the garbage thing, is it?
No,
That's what I'm saying. Because I see a tweet. That says, what I was going to notice. There's this tweet that says Wonder Woman 84 is garbage. I think that is apparent. That cannot.
No. It's honestly worse than that, but I'm not going to say it on air.
So I'm saying, given some of the other stuff we've got in the DCU, and I still feel like that earlier point you made was this is not the worst thing we've got in the DCU by a long stretch. Come on.
I think it's maybe the most problematic thing we've ever gotten in the DCU. I mean, it's not the most boring thing that we've ever gotten in the DCU, that's for sure, but...
Well, again, that's what I'm saying. Ultimately, is I personally, I don't get it. I don't get the vitriol. I mean, I chalk it up to honestly, for a lot of this stuff, I think this day and age we're all kind of spoiled with comic book movies for the most part. I feel this is kind of a Donner era throwback and a necessary one for DC. Like, it's kind of taking it kind of in that throwback space, and even the middle ground we did agree on. The the most Donner-esque scene in the movie is honestly, it's the biggest standout, most successful part of the film, for sure. And kind of all spaces there, to the end. It's like, hey, kind of the fun Donner throw, the fun Wonder Woman stuff is really great in this movie. I think just kind of overall people can kind of glom onto.
Again, I wish the rest of the movie was like that.
I view the thing as quintessential Wonder Woman. I feel like at the very least that scene is absolutely quintessential Wonder Woman. So anyway you take it, folks. I mean, again, if you don't like it, I'm sorry for you, but if you do like it, at least I think we all like that mall scene. So at least the mall scene delivered. So
all right,
the mall scene we trust. All right.
Well, you know what this is going to make for an interesting look at, Dragon. It's going to make for an interesting end of the year list.
It will.
Now that's not coming. It's not coming this week. It's not. It'll be here probably late January, I would say. But just to hype it up, Dragon, it's going to be an interesting one, to be sure. I don't know if you can guess which one is top my number one. It's not the obvious one that you might think it is. It's not Soul. But suffice to say, I think this is going to be kind of like on opposite ends of our spectrums in terms of end of the year lists. So, all right. All right, Dragon. Well, my God, it's been fun chatting with you. Like I said, I genuinely think that this kind of discourse, this kind of discussion where we're on opposite ends of the spectrum here, but we can still kind of tap the boxing gloves together, have an honorable bout of agreeing and disagreeing with certain things. I feel like there's something to be said for that, because, in the age of oh, I love The Last Jedi, well, I hate The Last Jedi, in the age of that, Dragon. I honestly feel like it's refreshing whenever I can have a conversation like this. So I thank you for it.
I actually heard. I'm sorry, real quick, because this is kind of related to that, because you brought up the Star Wars. I heard Patty Jenkins, she's doing the Rogue Squadron coming up.
Yes.
And I heard something really interesting about Patty Jenkins I never knew about before. It makes me that now makes me even more excited for that Rogue Squadron movie. Her father apparently was a pilot who passed away, and that's why I want to say she's kind of had like a little soft spot for Steve Trevor, and makes me really excited for Rogue Squadron, just given the X-Wing pilot thing of it all. It could be really good.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I want to make that clear too. I'm not poo-pooing on Patty Jenkins. I'm more poo-pooing on the script than anything else, Dragon, really. At the end of the day, the script is like 90% of my problem with this movie. So, all right, folks. Well, thanks so much for watching, Dragon. What's a good end clip to go out on?
Life is good, but it could be better.
Memory all alone in the moonlight.